Let's have a session on types of sampling, but first we need to define sampling. So sampling is the act of picking a smaller group from a larger population to learn about your whole group. And there are three techniques, sampling techniques, that you need to be aware of. The first is random sampling. So random sampling is when each individual has an equal chance of being selected into the sample for the sample. Advantages here, well, it's simple, it's easy to do, and it's going to be unbiased in terms of results because individuals were randomly selected to be in the sample. Problems, however, of using random sampling is that it may not guarantee you have representation across all the subsets, all the segments that you want and you feel are vital in order to sample, get a truly representative sample. So there's problems there. The next one is stratified sampling. So stratified sampling, 2 steps, is divide the larger population into subsets or segments. And then step 2 is that samples are randomly selected from each of these subsets or each of these segments. So that will ensure you have representation from each of the subsets or segments that you feel are vitally important to your sample. And then it gives you more precision versus the random sampling in terms of that. And you're able to analyse results from each of those pots, each of those subsets, each of those segments. And that might give you even more information that's useful to be aware of. So this more time consuming is one of the issues here because there's much more precision, it's much more precise in terms of how you do it and you're creating those subsets, those segments. You also want to question who is defining the subsets. There's risks that you might overlook key subsets, so it depends on the experience of the person, the researcher that's creating those segments, those subsets, or those stratas. And then the next one, the third one, is quota sampling. So quota sampling is you divide larger population into subsets or segments. And step 2 is they're not randomly, they are deliberately selected from these subsets. So you create the pots and then you deliberately pick individuals from each of those pots. So researchers are in full control of the composition of the sample to ensure the representation of certain characteristics because they are selecting particular individuals from each subset. Therefore, it's prone to researcher bias. It depends on the researcher there. And it's not random, of course, because they've been deliberately picked. And therefore, it may not be truly representative. So when we're thinking in one word the difference between each of these, random, stratified, precise, and quota, not random. Hope that helps. See you at the next session.